710. We are back where we should be on ESPN LA 710, the home for your Trojans and across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore alongside Sean Cody, our All-American. Cody Kessler, now full-time co-host here on Trojans Live. Good to have you, number 6. And, of course, we've got the head coach, Lincoln Riley, back with us now, heading into his 3rd season in charge here in Troy. Monster Energy is the official energy drink of USC. Unleash the Beast. And USC's head coach interview is presented by I Trust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. We've got a new set here for the new season. We got to shout out your creative team, Coach. They're the guys that came down here and cleaned all this stuff out, built us a new set. So pretty cool job by your staff. And overall, how's camp been? We haven't talked to you in a little while. How was it? How was your summer?
It's been good. We're ready to hit somebody else, though.
I believe that.
Yeah. I know we always say this at the beginning of the year, but yeah, not having preseason games, not having joint practices or scrimmages, anything like that. College football is so unique. It's, you practice essentially for a month, and then you finally get to go play, and then it's for real. And but it's been good. Camp's been great. Getting the new coaches acclimated, the new players, seeing the team come together, being able to use our new practice facility, which has been tremendous. So it's been a great camp. We're healthy. We're excited. Glad that game week is finally here, and certainly can't wait for Sunday in Vegas.
Coach, you had a quarterback competition this year. I don't know how long it's been since you had one, but you had one this year, and you went with Miller Moss last week. You named your starter. What went to the decision, and how has camp gone for both guys?
Camp was really competitive for those guys. I thought both Miller and Jaden Maeva did a great job. Jaden, as we all felt he would. He made a big jump from spring. Certainly, just learning the system and getting comfortable. You saw him start to make some plays and really settle in. But Miller won the job. I mean, he did. He did a great job leading. He's continued to improve as a player. It was. Despite Jaden really making a great push, it was still pretty clear to us that this was Miller's job and he had earned it. And I think, the team felt the same way. So excited because I think, competition like that, as you guys know, it pushes you in a way that you can't push yourself. It just does. There's just something about it. And so I think it made Miller better. And it certainly gave us, a lot of confidence in Jaden, if the situation arises where, he's getting to go in there and play meaningful snaps that we can go, still execute at a high level. So now I love the competition. Thought the guys handled it well, approached it well, and excited for Miller to certainly get his chance.
Coach, you kind of mentioned it a second ago, but fall camp and spring ball is so different than live game action. What position group are you most excited to see on September 1st against LSU, and what position group are you eager to learn about when they take the field?
And there's a lot of them that I'm excited to see. I mean, I think our D-line, certainly is probably there at the top. Right, Sean, you're okay with that, right?
I'll be watching.
There we go. Yeah. We've made obviously a lot of changes there. I mean, pretty much every single possible way you can change it, we've changed it from, how we practice, certainly the size, the nutrition factor. It's been well documented, obviously, the weight and the strength that we've put on these guys and that we've brought in. Certainly how we're playing, not just call-wise, but from a technique standpoint is very different as well. And so, to see us get a chance to go put that on display is important. And I think of any of the changes that have happened, that position room, it's been the most extreme. Yeah. And so I think naturally for me, that's the one that I'm most excited to see.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. And, Coach, the word of the summer was gains. It seemed like across the board, the team bulked up, but seemed to do it without, losing speed or athleticism. Take us behind the scenes. Who gets the credit? How did this program get put into place that your team just looks ready to go for the new season?
Yeah, we started pretty early. I mean, we took advantage of having those 6 weeks from the end of the regular season until the Holiday Bowl. And even before we made a coordinator hire, I knew that was going to be part of it. And so, I sat down with Benny and Benny Wiley, our strength coach, our nutrition team, and we mapped out, hey, we're not going to wait until January after the bowl game when we get these guys back to get started. This initiative starts now, here in late November. And so we did. We went on we went on a pretty aggressive path until we got right down to the very end of preparations for the Holiday Bowl that attacked that. And then certainly once we got, Coach Lynn hired, the rest of the defensive staff, we were able to, I think, fully get that plan in place. And then we just haven't looked back. We've made that a priority every step of the way. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great job by the strength staff, the nutrition staff, the trainers. I mean, there's so many people involved with that to make that happen. And then certainly, give the players credit for putting in the work to change their bodies. And we'll be excited to go put it on display.
Coach, you've been through this team through a spring now, a summer, and a fall camp. And I'm always interested in the identity of a team, how it kind of develops throughout the year. Is that something you try to say after you've seen these guys? Like, are you trying to push a certain identity upon them, or you kind of let it happen? Are you going to not? Is it going to something that kind of unfolds throughout the season, or something you want to know before you're kind of going into it?
Well, to me, the answer is a little bit of both. I mean, I think you always have to have a few initiatives as a coach that you say, all right, this is going to be really important for us going forward. And then I also do think there's parts of an identity, though, that do have to happen organically.
Defining
moments,
yeah.
And so certainly the weight gain, some of the changes, especially defensively, the physicality emphasis. I mean, I think all of those have been things that we knew those things are going to have to take a jump. Those things are going to have to improve. Like, those are going to be emphasis points no matter how this team goes or the feels that you get from it. And then I think as it's gone on and developed, we have started to see the personality of this team a little bit. And I think it's a little bit of I don't want to use words like no-name group, but there's just kind of it's kind of the strength is in the numbers, and the strength is kind of in the masses. Yeah. And it's not a bunch of, it's not an individual guy here or there. You feel a sense of togetherness, which has been exciting to see, especially with the way that this thing was constructed. And I've told the guys many times, typically you go back at the end of the year, and we can all think about teams we've been on or coached. Typically the teams at the end of the year, you look back on and say, man, they really came together as a team. Well, typically those teams do really well or overachieve. The teams that don't typically underachieve. And so, it's going to be important for our group. You feel it now, but as we go through the different ups and downs of the season, how strong is that bond? How close are these guys? What is that chemistry really like?
Coach, how difficult is it, looking ahead to next week, to prepare for an opponent in week one that you haven't seen on film yet? And obviously you can watch Coach Baker from Missouri, when he was defensive coordinator, watch his scheme, and LSU from a year ago, even though they have a new quarterback. But in today's era of college football, with rosters that change so drastically in the offseason and in the transfer portal, how difficult is it to prepare for an opponent that you haven't seen on film yet?
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, it feels like we've had a lot of these in the last several years, just so many coaching changes. So I guess I think we're used to it. I mean, yeah, there's good and bad to both situations, right? Like the tough thing is, like, what do you watch? What have they changed at LSU? They're doing it with different people. He's got different position coaches there. So, but then the flip side of it is, well, it's their first game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, there's some things that, that they'll probably get better at, just like anybody else would, from game one to game whatever in a new system with new coaches. And so I think those things typically equal out in the end. I still think it comes down to execution, being able to make adjustments, all of those things, which are certainly going to happen on Sunday. But yeah, there's parts of me that's like, oh, man, I wish we had more concrete things to watch. And then sometimes like, well, you know what? We don't have much to watch, but they haven't done it a whole lot together either, so you can honestly go either way with it.
Yeah.
You've made some major changes in your defensive coaching staff, which we talked about, obviously some during the spring. But I'm wondering now, you've had a summer, you're in a game week with these guys. A lot of these guys are fairly new to you. You had some relationships there, but, first time coaching with most of them. What have you learned about them or what have you learned from them, as you've started to get in the foxhole with them?
Well, I've learned a lot from them. I mean, I wanted to bring in people with different backgrounds, and people that had different great experiences, and we did that. And so, to be able to lean on these guys throughout camp of, well, how have you done this in the past, or do you have a suggestion here, or do you, things that they have seen and experienced, and most of these guys again have been really, really successful. So it's been awesome having that. And then I think my biggest takeaway has been, like, I tell people all the time, like you see, like teams in the NBA, they put together this super team, and then the team's not worth a damn, right? Like, oh my gosh, they got this guy and this guy and this guy, they're going to be unbelievable, and then they're terrible. Like, there's still a chemistry part to the coaching piece as well. I knew we hired like some individually outstanding coaches. I have been excited to see how well they have worked together and really come together as a unit, and that's probably the most important part. So they watching these guys interact, it doesn't feel like it's their first year together, which I think is a good thing.
Coach, we got some helmet communication this year, a little wrinkle this year. Sounds like you've been an advocate of it before when you've been talking about it. How's that going to change up what you guys do and how the procedural events of getting the play call in?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be part of the strategy, and I think the cat and mouse game for everybody, is everybody has this. I'm sure everybody's going to use it in some form or fashion, but how do you use it? Yeah. The 15-second cutoff, so for those people who aren't aware, once the play clock gets to 15 or below, you can press the button, but it just a noise shows up. You can't communicate with the player. So that's definitely going to be a factor, I think, for both sides, offensively and defensively. And then, you got to decide, are you going to use it to call a play? Are you going to use it to communicate with the player? Are you going to use it to try to help them see a look that's on the field? I mean, there's so much, and each player's different, each situation's different, each side of the ball's different. So we've experimented with a lot. We've talked to a lot of people that have used that. We've been able to experiment both in spring ball and in camp, and I think we've settled into how we're going to use it, but I'm sure we'll adjust and tweak it a little bit as we go on as well.
I can see him. Miller, tell Jonah to block the Mike linebacker.
Exactly right.
All get started on Sunday. USC versus LSU, presented by Invesco QQQ, the official ETF partner of the USC Trojans. It'll kick off at 4:30 p.m. in the Pacific time zone. Remember, it is a Sunday game. Trojans really have the spotlight to themselves. We will go on at 2:30 with the Trojan Tailgate Show on our new home, ESPN LA 710. And Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC football. More Lincoln Riley next on Trojans Live. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody Kessler, and the head coach Lincoln Riley getting set for Sunday against LSU. Coach, we've seen a lot of Brian Kelly over the years, mostly at Notre Dame. He's kind of a guy that I felt like was underrated for a while. I mean, I think I haven't looked it up. I think he is still the active leader in wins, though, among coaches. He's been doing this for a long time. What makes him a difficult matchup on that other sideline?
Yeah. Brian's he's been a really good coach for a long time. Like you said, he's done it at different levels. Yeah. I think he's he's certainly done a great job with hires. Through the past, you look at some of the guys that have worked for him and some of the staffs that he's been able to construct. I think he's been a good program builder. A guy that certainly I haven't obviously worked with him, so I don't have incredibly in-depth knowledge of what it's like day to day. But from afar, certainly seems like a guy that has the ability to piece it all together, has a good feel for what's going on overall in the program, and again, he's surrounded himself with really good coaches, which has made for some really obviously some great programs, and he's been very consistent. I think that's one thing you got to say about him. I mean, his teams year in and year out typically produce, and there hasn't been many down years in all the time that he's done it, which I think is a big compliment.
Coach, take us through the scouting report a little bit for the Tigers. Obviously, a new quarterback's going to be in there with some strong tackles. How about defensively? What do you expect to see from those Tigers?
Yeah, they're a good group. Obviously, as we talked about, new coordinator coming in, but they're very talented, like you would expect. Certainly the front seven, you see a lot of athleticism. The linebackers are very experienced, very good players. Everybody talks about Perkins, and he's a very good player, but so are the other backers as well. Penn, some of those guys have been there for a while, so they've got some new players that have come in as well, via recruiting and the transfer portal. So there's they're going to be a little bit of a new group as well, but a lot of talent, both sides of the ball. Nussmeier came in, played very well in the bowl game for them as well. Their offensive line, I think, will be one of the better offensive lines that we play this year. Certainly some really good players on tape, actually some guys that recruited in another life. So, know some of those guys well, and it's no surprise to see that group really being a strong point for them.
Coach, I want to fast forward to September 1st. You just come off the field for pregame warm-up. Now we're back in the locker room. It's kind of that last calm before the storm, before you take the field. I want to know, what's that last message or that last conversation that you have with Miller Moss, who earned the starting job here as quarterback one. What's that last conversation look like right before he takes the field?
He just needs to be himself. I mean, it's the same thing I told him before the bowl game. I mean, like, you can't try to be anybody else. You got to be confident in who you are as a quarterback. Know what your game is, know the way that you want to play the game, and go do it, and not really worry about anything else. And it's, as you know from playing the position, one of the toughest challenges for a quarterback is to sometimes you kind of fight those inner battles of wanting to do too much or wanting to try to do this or that, and you've got to. It's kind of a mental test. It's like, see how long you can just stay true to the game plan and what you know is going to be successful. And it's a lot easier said than done. And so he did a good job of it in San Diego. And that'll be another key for him here coming up on Sunday.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. I want to talk a little personnel with you on your side. The running back room, Woody Marks, has a ton of experience. Just looking at him, really unique player, too. I mean, this is a guy that has a lot of catches. I mean, really spent time almost as much as a receiver out of the backfield at his time at Mississippi State as he did a runner. How are you preparing him? What are your expectations for him in that room as the guy who was clearly the veteran with some young backs behind him?
Yeah, it was important to get him. We wanted to add somebody that had that experience because we love the young talent in the room, but it is young, it is inexperienced, and so. Woody was the perfect guy to land on. He does. He's got a really good skill set. He can run the ball in between the tackles. He can get the ball outside. He can catch the ball. He's good in pass protection. I mean, he's definitely an every down type of back, no question about it. And as you said, he's had experience. He's played in big games against good competition. So, he's been good. He's been kind of just a steadying presence for our offense. And excited, to get some of those young guys in the mix as well. Joyner and Brian Jackson and Peterson, all those guys bring something pretty exciting to the table. So I think that's got a chance to be a pretty deep room for us and a room that we certainly are going to have the ability to lean on.
Coach, you had some younger players last year flash. I can think of, Zachariah and Big Bear. They flash on film. And this season or this fall camp, you've talked a little bit about challenging them, right? Being not just a good player, but being a consistent, great player. I always interested in how coaches talk to players. 'Cause I know in this day and age, it's a little tougher to, really challenge and be critical because, there's a portal. Kids are, how do you have those conversations with your players to make sure that that they know you're trying to push them to their greatest level?
Yeah, I think just being honest and consistent with them. I mean, if they do something good, I got no problem telling them. If they do something that's not good enough, being the same way and letting them know up front that, look, I'm going to be straight up with you on exactly what I see. And I'm not going to be afraid to tell you did a great job, and I'm not going to be afraid to tell you this wasn't good enough and it's got to be better. And then trying to be that same person every day so they know exactly what to expect. And I think at the end of the day, if you've recruited / developed the right guys, then when you challenge them, they're not going to back away. The true competitors, they want that. I love the guys that come in and no, I want to know what I need to do to get better. They crave that. And if you don't crave that, then this ain't the game for you, and USC ain't the place for you. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, one of the guys that kind of sticks out talking about position groups, and I guess a group of guys is, and Sean just said it, but that sophomore wide receiver class is. I don't think people realize how good that unit is. You have Jacoby Lane, Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Mekhi Lemon, all part of the same class. How much easier as a play caller and one of the best in the country does it make your life how much easier to make your life to have those guys on the outside, at your will and allow Miller to use them?
Yeah, it's a good young group. And when you look at the 4 guys in that class, it was a great class. Those guys all had some varying degrees of contributions last year. In the first year, all showed a lot of promise. They've all gotten a lot better. And I think, you pair them up with some, really good veterans in the room, Kyron Hudson and, Kyle Ford and some guys like that that are also very good players. It's a good room. It is. Now, we got to go produce. We got to go make those plays that we're capable of, and I believe we will. But no, you do. You like the depth. You like the talent. You like the experience in that room. And that class in particular has got a chance to be very good.
Well, here we go. It all starts on Sunday. Great to have you back, Coach, with us on Trojans Live. Thank you so much, as always, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you take your team out on the field, Allegiant Stadium, on Sunday. USC versus LSU, presented by Invesco QQQ, the official ETF partner of the USC Trojans. 4:30 kick, 2:30 for Trojan Tailgate Show on ESPN LA 710 and across the USC Trojans Media Network. One of the leaders on your team, no doubt about it, is fifth-year senior Jonah Monheim. He will join us next on Trojans Live.